So I was searching this pirated database of books that have been taken off the internet, and it was bought by Meta back in 2020. And Handley sent me to this Atlantic article that included a way to search. So I searched for Anne's work. Sure enough, I find both works. I searched for J.K. Rowling. I found all the Harry Potter works. Now, this doesn't mean Meta actually used this to train their AI, but they did use to buy it. And when they did make that choice back in 2020, this is why it impacts so much. They knew this was a pirated database, but how do you get enough data for AI? A Meta director of engineering in the chat shared the following. I got this from a legal filing. The problem is that people don't realize that if we license one single book, we won't be able to lean into fair use strategy. So we'll have to drop all of the LibGen and books data sets. Now, those kind of books is what really fueled that early AI before people knew what it was. So that engineering choice was really one not only of cost, but of time. In the end, did they use J.K. Rowling? Did they use Anne Handley? My name's Declan Dunn, and this is the AI Optimist. Well, you and I probably don't exist on that strata of AI like the people I'm talking about. And that's what I want to bring it down to you with this episode. Creatives, AI Rising, how I learned to stop worrying and love AI. The AI freight train is coming on. All the leaders say they don't need people. I'm saying to the creators, here's what you can actually do. Because while I looked at Meta and all this horror story, I also found something really simple. Right now, today, the quote-unquote creative economy worldwide is worth about $985 billion. This is from G20 Insights. They estimate by 2030 that the creative economy will rise to 10% of global GDP. Fancy word for all the money every country makes. 10% of that is now going to be the creative economy. Deloitte predicts by 2030, there'll be a 40% growth in the creative industries worldwide. The creative industry is rising, so should you. And I want to say, how can we figure out where you can rise, where you can get some side hustles, where there might be work in AI, and what this licensing thing really means if you do get famous? Let's explore how creators can position themselves today and in the next 2 to 5 years when everything's changing. It starts with knowing the side hustles. So let's look at the side hustles now. Let's see if what we can do today, that we can use AI and that there's an opening in what people are trying to do. Because most of the AI innovation and things I'm going to talk about from the creative industry generally are happening at these big enterprise, big tech, large level where these major experiments are in. I've been dissecting those down to try to see what might apply here. Because what if we could fuel AI with expert insights, knowledge, experience, and also creativity, that dynamic part of humanity, not just limit the probability and the creation to AI. So this isn't about being replaced. Decide, how am I going to fit in this world? And if you are being replaced, then we've got to adapt in different ways. I realize that's a reality, believe me. Financial services, human resources, marketing and sales, those three have been the very first broad lines of AI because they're actually somewhat more predictable and easier scenarios. We're just creating words, we're creating copy. But as a friend came to me and said, hey, I want to sell my copywriting services. Do you know anybody looking? I told him, I said, I don't think people are looking for copywriting services. They're looking for your knowledge, your experience, your words using AI. And what's funny is that's exactly what he does. But when he came to me under the old word, copywriting, old, a few years, and I understand marketers, it does matter. But what he's doing is creating a voice, he's creating a tool, basically your own copywriter, but helping those businesses, small businesses, non-enterprise, non-big funded companies find their way through it. That allows him to get paid, not as he would have for the final product, but to create not only the product in action, but helping train it, giving it right examples, wrong examples, doing chain of thought and really learning your prompting. into a creator who's a writer, look what that does. It gives them a dynamic way to set this up. And it's a side hustle for him while he's looking for those bigger project jobs. 2 other openings: cultural context. Deep cultural context. In the US, I live in Northern California, which most people consider Los Angeles. But if you know the United States, we're part of Cascadia, Washington, Oregon, and the upper northern part of California people barely ever visit. This is knowing the cultural point of view. AI often lacks deep social understanding. It only knows what we've written about. So it might refer to different people and different tribes and different indigenous tribes. Having that point of view, that story, is what makes AI not only special, but as a constant flow of content, might be something that could provide valuable data. People who are photographers, people who are artists, can be able to use their visual knowledge, their domain-specific knowledge, to help people work with Gen AI, get images out, prompt, being able to understand all the aspects that a photographer does to get that good shot, the kind of film, the camera, the lighting. I'm not even going to pretend to get into it. An artist being able to do that and train somebody and get images out with them, or train their AI with that knowledge on a monthly, short-term, maybe long-term basis. Because here's the best thing about the side hustle of training. Training takes time and usually takes more than a month or 2, even though most people will want to run when that happens. But training, if there's no training and it just ends, there's entropy. It erodes. So your service might be something you could offer again and again. Crafting specialized prompts that produce consistent, high-quality outputs, that takes time. Developing prompt libraries for specific creative fields. Training teams on how to communicate effectively with AI. Think of it as teaching AI to speak the language of the person using it. I know we're all supposed to be able to obviously prompt. I've seen businesses crashing because people look at that blank prompt screen and they don't know what to do. They don't know the questions to ask. A little guidance, a little coaching, but also a technology that you can keep training and updating with your knowledge, with the person's and other knowledge you bring in legally, copyright good. You could turn out something that's so unique for them and so unique for you. So let's talk about AI-driven creative careers. This is future looking. I don't like to do that. But if we're seeing the creative economy growing so much, where might some of the opportunities be? This is what I'm finding. AI creative residencies. Let's go back to the Renaissance. In the Renaissance, artists weren't paid to sell their books. It was hard. The Medicis, for example, the famous family, if you've ever seen a series about them, very, sort of the Sopranos times 10 of their times, working with Michelangelo, having him as a patron of Michelangelo, creating art. Now that's a really nice example, but what if we had these micro Michelangelos? This ability to distribute this knowledge and creative residencies where this creative person and their domain would come in for 3 months, 6, 12 months, maybe hired in-house from bigger companies to help their training from a point of view that is different than just engineering and output driven, while understanding the engineering and how the output is driven. Key to creatives, you can't just go in there and start brainstorming. You got to start looking into it, and it's not that hard to understand. For example, if I want to put a book out on AI, I ask this question: how can I output a 200-page book? Could I prompt this out like other people are claiming an entire work? Is it possible? And the general answer was no, you could, but it would take a little piece at a time. In other words, there's these little snippets, paragraphs, chapters, but to put the whole thing together is not what AI is designed to do, and would take a lot of time, because it's about 50 to 80,000 tokens. That's what your book's broken into, to be able to come out. And if you're at a $20 a month thing, that's a big kind of expense to put on to get that book. You might as well just buy it. So the idea that it's helping AI defeat creativity, I don't think is the right way to approach it. Certainly not for this episode, because a creative residency allows you to use your creativity, and you can start applying this to small nonprofits, small businesses. There's all these people who are so lost on AI, and so few are helping them. And I'm talking about doing the basic things here, helping them understand their customers, their data, and improving it in a creative residency, applying your specific skills. Fine-tune AI models with unique styles and develop those styles with them. They might not even think about it. Talk about what the opposite style is to what they thought about. Play the spectrum. AI is driven by probability. We need a good and a bad to find the middle. Create AI-enhanced experiences. This is happening all over with customers, people coming into stores. There is so much AI can do to customize the experience, especially on the business end, marketing and sales. When you visit a site, there's so much memory and AI going on in some of these things. It actually looks like the site was designed for you, which is what the purpose is of an AI-enhanced experience. And you don't notice AI, hopefully, because if you do, then it's not working that great. Another career, AI agent definers and designers. Everywhere, it's so funny. The marketers have taken over AI agents. Last year, to many of us in AI, that was really the rise of AI agents that now are coming out and people are being able to use them. Great. But here's the thing about AI agents. They're good. They're really good at doing automations. They're sometimes good at doing workflows if you're good at doing workflows. See what I'm saying, creatives? On the automations, what do they do? On the workflows, you know it from being a domain specialist. These are where you can fill in the holes. Where do people start losing it? Where is the organization of projects happening and going wrong? Have you ever been on one where it just goes off the rails? Because people aren't that organized. It's hard for us. We're all busy. Communication, how can we improve that? See, this isn't programming. It's creative direction for acquired AI behavior, but you need to know a little bit how this works. Take some classes. Get yourself familiar. Do some prompting. If AI is stealing all of this content and owes us so much, how come the creative economy is projected to increase and not be destroyed? Okay, obvious answer, you say it's all to the big tech and the rich people. That's an easy one. But the fact is, the future is unwritten. You may not feel like you have much of a chance, especially if you're not among the big tier. Authors, publishers, writers, artists. Now, if you're building, I want to show you some paths that might help you. Okay, part 3, the reality check on AI licensing. Everyone who's a creator says, I want to get paid for what AI took from me. And well, that's good. Were you getting paid before AI took it from you? And let's set that at like 5 years ago for what we call AI. So if your content was taking and it made a lot of money, you're going to be one of the many talking about licensing deals or represented by lawyers who are trying to figure this out. There are so many lawsuits going on. We've covered them. The major ones that really matter so far aren't that many. We're figuring it out. But if you want AI licensing, I can tell you, I went and asked a number of different bots and people like, how would this compare to, example, how musicians get paid at Spotify right now? If you're a musician, there is so little money for all that streaming that you get to go on the road and play concerts because that's where you're going to make your money, concerts, merch. Well, writers, artists who don't have a live stage, who aren't performing artists, have to do that on their own, and they don't have that advantage that musicians have. Plus, it's not a really good comparison, is it? When I go to Spotify, I'm playing your song, or at least a piece of it, right? But when I'm going to AI, I'm probably maybe getting a piece of your influence, and then we have to do this into what's called non-literal influence, which sounds like it's hokey, but basically it's probability putting together things. And sometimes for very famous brands like Getty Images, their brand came out because it was repeated so often, it became a pattern, a understood pattern by AI. It's not memory. It's simply understanding this is a good response to that. It's not actually the Getty Images brand housed in there. It's reconstructed. Now, for Getty Images, that's brand. That's although they said 11,000 photos. None of us obviously exist at this level. So if you have your little photos going out there, at best, it could partially influence what's going on. So AI licensing, it's the same. You're a creator. Are you going to be a hit? Are you going to be a star? Are you going to be on top of things? Then you might have some room to talk about licensing. You get big, you're going to have attorneys and publishers. Those are the ones getting paid. But if they get paid, fair use is gone. So at least control it. Give permission, control, follow what I've shared in the previous episode about setting up your site, doing the basics. It's not great, but at least you're protecting yourself if and when you become a hit. Because until then, licensing isn't really going to matter. I'm not really talking about fighting as much as adapting. What are those works that you can put out there? I mean, is the game that you're playing as a creative that you're going to become famous, well-known, bestseller, like so many of us are driven? You know what a low percentage game that is. Well, banking on AI licensing to suddenly, even with the direct and bad way that they did it, taking away everything and giving you something back, unless your creative has created an impact economically, revenue-wise, fame, followers, it's not only going to be hard to find you, the only thing they can find right now in AI are big brands. You and I have a tool that can make us so much better if we stop fighting it. I don't even care if you like it. How to stop worrying and love AI? I love what I do, and AI is part of it. And there's some I don't like, but in the end, there is no stopping this. This is the new creative reality. I don't know how you're going to do it as a small artist, creator. You're going to have to adapt those side hustles, those career things that pay you just like you do in a real creative career, but not fun work. AI needs our help. We are that creative energy that makes great things come out of AI. We're actually working together. So instead of fighting it, look at the creative industry growing 40% by 2030, Deloitte Touche. G20 Insights, which is the G20 nations, saying creatives will be 10% of international gross domestic product. I mean, what every country generates, 10% is creative. That points to growth, not in doing what we're doing. And there are some brutal times where you know the big players, the agencies, the studios are going to be using this to their advantage. So you can look at this as an AI arms race and creatives versus engineers and just stay in this like tech civil war, like we don't need each other. And that's sort of the posing that's done on social media, and that's good. Do it my way, do it yours. All these decisions will happen, and in the end, we're going to be working together. There's no chance we're not, because the creative economy is growing. If those two reports are wrong, I'm going to look for more to prove them wrong, because I'm not saying we're going to explode, but clearly there's value even in a technology age, but not if you ask the AI industry, which is full of tech and engineers, saying we don't need these people. Not only do they need us, we're the fuel, we're the ideas, we're the edge cases. AI doesn't know how to deal with edge cases. The creative industry is a giant edge case they should be leveraging for change, adapting dynamic ideas, teaching AI to think like we do, or even better, thinking a little differently than we do, and acting a little differently than we do. This is oddly one of the best times for creators, because when everything goes away, there's openings, and most people are sitting around complaining about how it used to be. Glory days. Harsh, but the glory days, the way they used to be, are gone. But how can you make them now? That's the question you should be asking yourself. Breathe and put out your voice, because we need it.